think you guys are making way more out of it than it is. You know what I mean?
Hey, we're back.
We're back.
We're here. We didn't go anywhere.
Almost Happy New Year. Christmas.
Happy New Year,
Happy
everybody.
New Year.
Christmas
Happy New
down.
One down, one to go.
New Year. Last remaining. Whatever. Okay. So welcome to What the Flicks podcast. This is episode, I think, 67. And actually, we have some really great movies this time. We really do. And
We really do.
We do. Okay, so let's get started. I'm Susan Ayers.
I'm Patty Smith.
I'm Lon Shima.
JS, Jorge Sanchez.
Bob McShields.
Okay, so our movies for this episode are Godzilla Minus One, Maestro, The Lost King, Killers of the Flower Moon, and Equalizer 3. So we're going to start with you, George. Right?
Yes, Godzilla Minus One. Let me take this off because I'm getting echo. Actually, incidentally, minus one means, one is like you're at the worst, you're at the bottom, you're like everything's horrible, you're on the floor. Minus one is below that.
Oh, is that the meaning behind the
Yeah.
title?
Yeah. In
I
this
didn't
case, it
understand that. Yeah.
I was curious about that.
So
Oh,
it's
well,
like being worse than the worst kind
I'll
of.
explain it when we get to it.
Okay, all right. So my movie is Godzilla Minus One. I've seen 2023. It stars Ryu Nosuke. I'm just gonna do the first names here. As Koichi. He's a pilot, a kamikaze pilot. Minami Hamabi as Noriko Oishi. She's I would say she's the guy's partner. Munetaka Aoki as Sosaku, this air service mechanic. Hidetaka Yoshioka as a naval weapons engineer. Sakura Ando as the couple's neighbor. And Godzilla as Godzilla.
Okay.
As
Gojira.
Gojira as Godzilla, actually. So basically, the movie takes this is the 33rd entry from Toho Studios, the
wow.
movie,
Yeah.
and it's the 37th film in the franchise. Next year marks the 70th anniversary of Godzilla. Well, the first film, the 1954 one.
54, right.
That came out in November, funny enough. So this is like an early celebration of the 70th anniversary. The last couple of years, there's been a couple of Godzilla movies that have been made, but they're Western versions. So it's a completely different company, different story, different universe, I guess. So the filmmaker decided to set the film in post-war Japan. So he said, allowing Godzilla Minus One to explore the themes of anti-war, trauma, hope, guilt, and redemption. He also stated that Godzilla symbolizes the Japanese perspective of nuclear holocaust during that time period, akin to the original movie. To me, Godzilla, because it happens just past the World War II, everybody's getting picking up the pieces, getting their lives together again, and then suddenly this monster comes in and just makes it worse. As they're trying to get their move on from the war. Actually, to me, Godzilla represents an atom bomb with teeth, legs, and arms.
A what?
An atom bomb. It literally represents it's an atom bomb with teeth and legs and arms. And and one thing I like about the movie, that Godzilla's the atomic breath. It's literally an atomic explosion. I mean, they do with the mushroom cloud. The thing flows, and so they made his atomic breath an actual atomic explosion. So you can feel what's it like. Like how in movies you see it. It's pretty impressive. It shows the devastation, the mass destruction that the atom bomb does. So that's what the movie represents. The movie is a more serious, I would say, adult drama as opposed to some of the other Godzilla movies where they're just fighting monsters and the really cheesy funny ones with the rubber suit. They wanted to get closer to the original Godzilla 2 in look. I actually like the way this Godzilla looks. It's one of my favorite looks. It really looks pretty impressive, the face.
Looks like Dino the dinosaur. Kind of cute.
But they want to get it like this, a lot of the, some like 2020 or 2017 or 18, they did one where it looked like Jurassic Park and had a funny one with Matthew Broderick. That was a really weird Godzilla. So they kind of became this really weird shape Godzilla. But this one, even though it's kind of goes back to the more like the upright with the costume.
Yes.
There's a scene where he's moving from a distance like that. Even though it's kind of cheesy, that's more like you feel like, oh, you're watching Godzilla now. That's actually Godzilla, even though it's like, that could be a guy in a suit actually walking straight up.
No, I think they did CGI. They said
They did
even though
some
it
CGI.
looked like that, it was
Yeah,
CGI.
exactly. It was CGI. I actually really enjoyed the special effects on it. I thought they were really well done. I mean, it looks so realistic too, and that kind of grainy feel gave it that class. Probably made it seem more realistic. And like those water scenes, those were pretty impressive. What am I saying? What else was about that movie? I really enjoyed it. The movie has visual effects, direction, story, characters. It's really everybody seems to be. It seems to be getting a lot of positive reviews for that. To me, it's my favorite Godzilla movie that I've seen so many of them. And
Really, this is your favorite?
yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Wow.
I really enjoyed it. Yeah. So, and I really like that Godzilla. I like the theme. I like the way it showed the mass destruction of the bomb and the people. It was more people centric. Now, sometimes it did feel like a little over the top acting, a few times. But if you watch, a lot of times like manga or Japanese shows, they will go a little so almost cartoonish. But that's just cultural too. So, but no, yeah, I enjoyed it.
Okay.
First of all, the what we'll call the original Godzilla one from 1954 was we didn't even see the original Godzilla at the time. What we saw was an American version of it that they had cut in Raymond Burr as who had nothing whatsoever to do with the plot other than they had to have a name, an American name in it, and it was what was powerful about the first one though. Was it was clearly a post-apocalyptic, and the apocalypse being Nagasaki and Hiroshima. It was a post-apocalyptic World War II movie talking about the effect of the outrageous consequences of atomic power and the use of atomic power in weapons. And I think that with this particular film, this is not a monster movie. This is not your standard monster movie. This is like I had said like a Kurosawa, or as long as I think is more accurate, an Ozu film, who were they were like great Japanese directors because this was about the people. It was a movie about people, and it was a movie about conditions. It starts off in 1945 as the bombs are dropped, and then you're seeing the effect on Japan of the bombs, and one of the effects of the bombs is this monster. And the monster is, I think it's called Godzilla Minus One because, to me, it would be taking place before the original Godzilla movie or the one with Raymond Burr, for lack of a better term, because it's like a prequel, and it's a really really good movie. I was with this movie all the way. I thought, I'm going to go see a Godzilla movie, all these monster movies. I rather enjoy the Godzilla movies that are being made today. I like the first one that Rian Johnson did a lot because they took their time before Godzilla showed his chops. But by that point, Godzilla was already kind of a good guy. And in this one, he's not a good guy.
Right.
And he is a result of the atomic bomb. And so there's a lot that's being said in this. And in terms of the overacting, there's Japanese training is stuff like NOH drama. So it's like it is a very stylized type of acting, and that doesn't stand out to me. I mean, it's like I would compare this movie actually to The Host in terms
That's
of
what I would do.
the over the top emotional reaction to tragedy that happens to the characters in this. And again, it's very much centering on a child and keeping this child safe. It also has we mentioned that the main character in it is a guy who was a kamikaze pilot who basically said, I don't want to die. I don't want to crash my plane into some boat in a war we're losing. And he ends up on an island with all these soldiers who are there sacrificing themselves. And the monster shows up, and they all see him as a hero until he admits, he said, look, I'm afraid of this stuff. I don't want to go out there and die. And all of a sudden now he's an outcast. And so he's living in Tokyo, I guess it is, in the slums of Tokyo with a woman that he meets on the street and a child. So it's a story that really brings you in and really brings you into the human side. So it's much more about the effect of this disastrous creature on this family, and as such, I thought they hit it exactly the way it should be done. Is it the greatest movie I've ever seen? Who knows? No, it's not the greatest movie I've ever seen. But so what? It's the best Godzilla.
Maybe the greatest Godzilla movie.
It's the best Godzilla movie I've ever seen. Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
and better than several of the other movies we'll be reviewing on this.
well, actually, this is the smartest monster movie I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Right, that's what I said. So much symbolism going on here. In the Japanese version of Godzilla, which is actually not the real name of Godzilla, apparently. We just said it that way. Americans said it that way, but it was really, how do you say it? Godzilla is actually the name of the monster. It dealt with some really important issues. People had to deal with 2 nuclear bombs. I don't think the acting was over the top because I don't think
You'd be
that
calm.
situation would, take.
Well, it's a style.
Yeah, but also
style.
if you were hit by 2 nuclear bombs, I don't think you would be calm.
Yeah.
And it's
Shock.
something nobody had ever seen before.
PTSD.
And after just being through a world war that they were losing, they were on the losing side of. People recovering from trauma, soldiers suffering from PTSD, shame and survivor's guilt. I mean, all this stuff is going on, and I think they portray it great. I thought that when he landed on the island and he was telling them, I'm not a hero. This is what I, and the guy was like, why die for nothing? The head guy said that. It's like, why that, in other words, it's not a fault, but still he had survivor's guilt, a lot of it. The directed and written by Takashi Yamazaki. This is about the people and how they deal with this thing, because the Godzilla is the atomic bomb. I mean, he is.
How do you know that?
I know because he starts out, he's not that big. And then after the atomic bomb, he becomes very big.
They do a test in Bikini Island or one of those.
Yeah.
And that test, the pain kind of goes on. And
In the movie?
In the movie, yeah.
I don't remember there being anything before the bombs were set off in this movie.
they
I think
did,
There's
but
a
we-
quick,
happened.
there's a quick scene that they do, and it's an explosion. And it says testing, and it was like Bikini Island or Tiji. He had a name, and then they just threw it in there. Like when why are they doing that? And then it was like, oh yeah, no,
Yeah, they didn't know
massive.
why they were doing that.
Well, okay.
But we did see that the reptile there. And next time we saw him, he was
And then he's got stuff come shooting out of his back.
Yes. Yeah, he was like, every time that was going to happen, it lit up.
His atomic breath,
Yeah.
he's charging it.
You will find yourself affected in a very emotional way to the terrible consequences of nuclear war. And I think that's what they're showing you in this movie, which is kind of really deep for a monster movie. So.
I just want to say I agree with what you're saying, but it's still a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, well, I walked into this movie thinking it would be a newer, the newer ones. I like the newer ones. I don't like the old ones. So I didn't realize it was a 1954 homage. And I think you guys are making way more out of it than it is. You know what I mean? I mean, it's okay. You look it up going, oh, it represents the atomic bomb, and it probably does. But it's a monster movie. And
you can look at it on that level too. That's
That's
nothing wrong with
That's
that.
the fun part. That's what I'm talking about.
it's just so much that I don't like the 1950s. Those, because do you know the dinosaur? He looks too cute, and he does look like he's waddling. I'm not scared by him. The newer ones to me were way more threatening.
Here comes Barney.
Yeah, Barney. That's exactly who he looks like. So even though it was okay. I mean, I didn't fall asleep or anything. And Godzilla is not my favorite monster. I was kind of, even though I read all the things you guys have said about the depth and all that, the acting to me was just like in 1954. Everybody's over the top. That's just the way they act. Nothing changed much. It was like they took 1954, put it on better film, and there you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Nope.
Long.
And incidentally, they are going to release it in black and white next year.
So that will
Is
make
that,
it.
is
Don't
that
worry.
true?
Yeah.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah. They're gonna
Oh
have
my
black and white
goodness!
version.
Wow,
What?
That's what I heard.
that's funny.
That's the classic.
Because it's connected back to the original.
Only because I have to admit, see, Godzilla, as me watching it as an 8-year-old kid on television in Hawaii, that was like one of the most exciting things I'd ever seen, period. I just remember that. I mentioned to Bob how both Godzilla and King Kong has left an indelible mark to me. It's like as corny and as whatever people want to call it, it still affected me as a child when I watched that. So I always have the utmost respect for these sort of monster movies.
Right.
Now, I didn't realize though that Japan sort of had a series, or they actually have a reference to calling them these like giant monster movies or something.
Kaiju.
A genre. Oh yeah, kaiju. Exactly. Yes.
Toho Studios.
Well, that's the thing with Toho Studios. See, that's what I'll tribute to them, because in 54, that was the funny thing. Not only did they make Godzilla, but they're also filming Kurosawa's Seven Samurai, right?
Oh, that's a great movie.
And I remember, in fact, somebody needs to make a movie about Toho Studios at this time, because they were going to declare bankruptcy because both those films were going to throw them into, they were going to throw them into bankruptcy, but both those films were huge successes.
Right.
So and I said, see, that's
a great story.
That's the inspirational story, right? Because I have to admit, those are two movies that literally, I would say, yeah, they're favorites of mine. I can have both those films there. And so diametrically different from each other of what they, in cinematic history, basically. And yet, this is what makes me laugh about this movie. This is, like Bob said, it's taking like the best sort of post-war Japanese drama, and it's mixing it with this sort of almost, I don't want to say ridiculous, but this sort of outrageous kind of monster movie that Japan's sort of known for, right? And I think they did it really well. That's the one thing. Now, I was like you. I didn't think it was going to be in Japanese. That's the thing that surprised me.
that didn't bother me at all.
Oh, it did. I thought that, we're going to see a Godzilla movie. I had knew nothing about it except that people were telling me, "Oh, it's a good movie. Please go see it."
I kept telling Susie, "Bring your glasses, because you're going to be reading some subtitles."
Well, I went to the theater to see it, and that's why Bob and I went, and it's like so funny because it's like I told him I had no idea this thing. I mean, right at the beginning, it's like, oh, okay, and I thought, oh, this is just the beginning. It's going to flash to America or something. It's like, oh no, this is taking place in Japan. What did amaze me was that I did get caught up into the drama, and I think Bob and like Patty, I understand what you said, that like you like the monster movie aspect of it. That's fine, but the drama is what makes it, because this is probably one of the first Godzilla movies where, and I have to admit, you're right, the first Godzilla movie with that Elizabeth Olsen, and I can't remember
Oh, you mean the first recent one?
Yeah.
Not Matthew Broderick.
Kyle Chandler.
No. Well, before, I'm talking that first one, not Kyle Chandler,
you mean,
but
what's his name? Perry Mason?
no. I'm sorry about the recent one.
Oh, you mean the Western?
No.
I mean, like,
Actually, see, I didn't mind the Matthew Broderick version either.
I
It was a
love
CGI'd, and I thought, it's sort of clever. In fact, that's where they talk about, in Japan, he says Godzilla. In Japan, Gojira. I mean, he actually talks about the differences, right?
But it was
No. The one with Elizabeth Olsen, and I can't even remember the other actor's name now.
Well,
that's the 2000s of the current movie.
Well, Kyle Chandler is the main guy in the first one.
Not in the first one. No.
The current universe that
It was the guy who
King
played
Kong.
Kick-Ass, that actor. I can't remember his
Okay.
name.
You mean Aaron
Right.
Taylor?
Yeah.
He was the son.
No. Remember in the first movie?
Yeah,
it
he was the
was
son.
Oh, wait. He was the son. But
Yeah.
remember, it was Bryan Cranston and the
that's
French
right.
actress that were the parents, right?
Right.
Well,
So-
Bryan Cranston gets bumped off early on, though.
Well, spoilers, please.
But this is the modern.
But that's
story.
what I'm talking about, that movie. And I thought, you know what? At least they really tried to include the drama, because you had the Aaron Taylor. What was his
Aaron
name?
Taylor Johnson. I think.
Okay, Aaron Taylor Johnson and Elizabeth Olsen, husband and wife, and they have a child together. And he has to go and do his duty to try and fight Godzilla because of his. He's thinking mostly about his wife and his kid, and then
he's in
throughout the
army.
entire movie, that's all he's trying to do is get back to his wife and kid.
Mhm.
This movie almost has the same aspect because, like you said, here's a kamikaze pilot that has shame because the mechanic at the island realizes there's nothing really wrong with your plane. And he realizes that what this guy has
Right,
done.
right,
and
right.
yet is sort of, like you said, compassionate towards him, right? Understands it.
See, I don't remember that. I remember the guy starts being very judgmental of him. All of a sudden, you were a coward. I didn't think he was.
I think that's a
sympathetic.
different guy
No.
because
Not on the island.
no.
Not on the island. But
Because
what
I thought
happens
the
is,
whole thing was
no.
about the two about them.
Because
the
when he
forgiveness.
claims he's a coward is once Godzilla shows up,
And he's telling
he's
the other
supposed to
man
get
shoot
on the
him.
plane and shoot him. Use your gun. You know how to use it.
Right.
And he doesn't. Or no, he gets in the plane.
And he freezes.
Okay, yeah,
Sorry,
okay,
that's a
yeah,
spoiler,
And
folks.
and he
Yeah.
froze.
Exactly. And
What about
again,
Deep Throat?
because of because
What
of
did you say
his
about Deep Throat?
no, he froze.
He
Yes.
froze.
So it's sort of funny in that aspect that it's like, no, see, that's why he called him a coward. And he let all his men die.
yeah.
Right.
To which, in fact, that's what sets it up because I did like that character played by Munetaka Aoki. He played the mechanic. He and the guy are rescued off the ship. They're the only two surviving members on that island now. He gives him all the photographs of all the men on that
Right.
in a way to say, see, you basically caused all their deaths.
Yeah.
So what I love is the story of redemption because throughout the entire movie, he does have to bear the shame of being a kamikaze pilot who's still alive, which is very shameful if you're in the war.
Yes.
Then what I like is the neighbor. He goes back to his home. His parents are all dead. The neighbor, this woman, she does the same thing. She basically shames and says, well, go kill yourself. Go, basically, which they do, right? They will commit suicide if they shame themselves,
Right.
basically. Or samurai class would do that of the old Japan.
Very
So
true.
they have very, very much that
cool.
mentality. So what I did like is the fact that he is then brought together with this woman who basically saved a child. He thinks it's her child. It's like, no, I just found this baby because this is what you do when you have a mass destruction that happens
Right.
during war, right? You just take care of whoever you can if you're able,
Right.
if you're mentally able. Because I'm assuming a lot of people were not mentally able also. Like I said, the shock and everything.
Mhm.
So that's what I really keyed into, which I was surprised at. That's the only thing as a
Well,
monster movie
I
was
also
surprised to.
think they pointed out they were a little critical of the government by saying that in this one, the guy put in an injector seat. They could have done that and put in an injector seat for the pilot, but they didn't.
Because it was to do with the honor.
Well,
of
well, that's
dying.
the saying
I
that-
think it's expensive.
Mm-mm.
Well, that's a funny thing because I think that's actually a very good point because like I said, you don't need one if you're going to be a kamikaze pilot.
Right.
You are actually expected to die.
Yeah.
Because it's honor.
But you're
Yeah.
also picked. You don't volunteer for this. You
Nobody in their right
That's
mind
why
would
they're not
do
going to
that.
have an injector seat.
What people would have done.
But I mean, how awful is that? Why would you do that? Why do you?
for honor.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
Why
well,
would
that's
you
like saying-
disembowel yourself?
But
Picture
practi-
that.
but
That is the
That's
the
the
mentality and
mentality.
the culture of that society.
it's
Right.
not like
You know?
you have.
Yeah.
You're an island. It's not like you have all these people. It's like, so why wouldn't you want to recycle those people? It's even stupid.
It goes down to it's honor. It's considered a great honor.
But also, you have to realize that they're
Yeah,
supposed
it's a great honor
Yeah.
for the guys
guys
who are
sitting in
getting
the office.
exactly.
well, the
not for
guys who lived.
Yeah.
Right.
But the guy who's doing it, he didn't get a choice.
No.
I wouldn't do it
I
either.
wouldn't do it either.
I was totally there. I was like, I wouldn't do that.
No.
I wouldn't.
Well, because you covered a Western
culture.
culture, exactly. That's why I'm saying that's what. And like I said, ritual suicide in Japan. If you shame your name, your family, or
Yeah.
anything, you
Harry
go out
Carey.
and kill yourself.
It's an honor.
You know?
In fact, if you're told
Yeah.
you can't kill yourself, that's an insult to you.
Yeah.
Was it
Yeah.
Matahari? or
Well,
something?
you can insult
how
me.
do
The
you-
only one.
and that's a slow death. That's a bad death.
But then what happens is that since he has sort of knowledge of the monster, he then goes on sort of this research, or he gets a job. Basically, he needs to get a job because he has. And like I said, the town that he lives in is devastated. He has to rebuild the house. He
Are we
has to
talking
make sure.
about the new one now?
No, we're talking about Godzilla Minus One.
Minus one.
We're there.
Okay. Yeah.
So now he has to build not only a house, but make a home for the woman and the child he's taking
Right.
in, who he has no association. He's just being kind and deciding to take them in. So he has to go find a job. So what I love is the fact that he finds a job on this little boat, and there, again,
Oh, the guys on a boat are great too.
well, exactly. He literally gets a job destroying all the mines and bombs that are in the
Demining.
water. Exactly. Which
Yeah.
again, post-war, right?
Scary job.
Which they had to go through, right?
Yeah.
But what I like is, like Bob said, that crew is great. In fact,
Yeah, they were.
Kunasuke Sasaki plays the captain. That's another character I really enjoyed in
He
this
was good.
movie.
He was good.
Only because he's the one who really humanized everything.
Yeah.
He's the one saying, well, no, you have to look after the girl. Like even when he finds out it's not his daughter, he says, no, you still have to. I mean,
Yeah.
he humanized everything, still being a captain of a ship.
And also, why aren't you
And then-
marrying her?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then Yuki Yamada plays the young kid, the 17-year-old kid who's up there, who's all gung-ho and
Mhm.
everything.
Yeah.
And then Hidetaka Yashioka plays sort of that naval engineer person who also contributes to, he thinks he knows possibly we can do something to combat Godzilla at one point. So I have to admit, I thought that's what takes it to the second level, is that first of him being at home, and then him and his job and this new crew. And then sort of that, again, that pride of, oh, we have to save people and basically our country, right? So, and that's when I think it climaxes. It's like once he's on the ship, and then all of a sudden, all these different aspects of what people have to do, and getting even financial government help to help fight Godzilla, right? Just getting money to do stuff like that. It just sort of, it showed, I think, and especially towards the end, sort of like, yeah, see, we all are in this together. We all have to band together. And I love movies like that, where it's sort of inspirational. So I will give it to this movie. I just thought, this really was a unique Godzilla experience for me, because it was, I love the Godzilla. I love the Robot Monster. I really do. That's something that will never go away from me when I watch these movies.
Well, yeah.
But-
Printed on you.
Exactly.
Printed on Godzilla.
But to see me getting emotionally involved with a lot of stuff, it was really sort of amazing, because I said, yeah, I've never watched a Godzilla movie that had that effect on me, to be
Right.
quite honest. So,
Right.
And then also to
Never,
me,
because none of them ever went for that effect. Before.
well, like I said, except for the one, like I said, with this Elizabeth Olsen, that I don't know what year it came out. They tried with that, and that sort of had a little bit of that.
Well, somebody said, I think in one of the things I was reading, is like, you're never going to go to a Godzilla movie where everybody in the audience is crying. And it's true.
I like that one with Elizabeth Olsen. I mean,
No,
Yeah.
exactly. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
That's why I said they took. I remember it took so long
To
before
get going.
Godzilla really shows himself.
Right.
And I watched it with slow going, and he just goes, "Finally!"
And that's how I felt watching the movie. That's why I said I wish they had more drama like this, where there was a lot of drama. I mean, you're being barraged with it. You don't really
this
get
is
that
a
in that.
human drama with monsters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's also like because they were devastated by the war.
Yeah.
It's like a reset. It's like a do-over. They get to fight the war again, maybe with different results. So
Oh.
maybe now we're gonna fight the war again and win the war for a change.
Oh, and just so a note too, Bob, Ozu also was working for Toho Studios at that time. They were
Wow.
producing his movie. So
Okay, so
Shall we
are
do
we ready to?
We are.
That was your movie, right? And you, Bob, you're not
I don't rate.
scoring. He doesn't score. So I'll give it a 9.
wow,
3.
I gave this a 7.
Holy
Good for you.
shit. One gave it a 7.
I'll give it a 10. I liked it that much. Yep, I liked it that much. All right then.
And I liked it a
we'll
lot.
do that.
We'll be back.
Oh yeah.